When it comes to watching online videos, YouTube has been notorious for being the home to all your favorites, from content creators, shorts, live streams, to even movies. But there's one thing about this platform you either love or hate, and that's clickbait. Clickbait has become the norm for YouTube, and really all of social media. But all these clickbait thumbnails and titles make you wonder, does clickbait actually work? And if so, is it good for your channel? Well, before we get into it, we have to understand the main purpose of clickbait and why your favorite content creators do it. The main purpose of clickbait is to actively catch the eye of those who see it, ultimately encouraging you, the viewer, to click. And this click is powerful because it shows YouTube that 1, you're interested in said video, and 2, gives the creator an extra view. Now, the reason I say main purpose is because clickbait can be used for a lot of other reasons. Some reasons being things like creating traffic for your website, or simply just to gain attention to a certain subject. And there are a lot of other reasons people use clickbait, and even different types of it. But for this video, I'll just be talking about clickbait on YouTube. So when it comes to whether or not clickbait is good for your channel, we have to look at the pros and the cons. And for now, we'll start with the cons. You see, once you have that powerful click from the viewer, your job in order to make clickbait the best thing you could ask for is to keep that viewer interested past the thumbnail. What I mean by that is the viewer needs to keep watching after they click, because this is how clickbait can be bad for your channel and possibly affect it in the long run. This is also where you get into a buttload of other stats that all tie into how many impressions and views your video will receive overall. Arguably, one of the most important stats after the viewer clicks will be that viewer retention, which will show YouTube whether the viewer actually watched the video and didn't just click off after losing interest. Now, the reason clickbait can be bad for your channel if not done properly is because of its known ability to kill that retention stat if the video does not hold the viewer past the curiosity gap. And this gap is what clickbait is fueled by. Videos with it are pushed more by YouTube and clicked more by viewers. For those of you who don't know, the curiosity gap is basically information withheld from you, sparking curiosity in what the subject and video is about, basically trying to tease you. But doing this comes with a balance, because it can also lower the credibility of your content if you're really just banking on that gap and simply not holding the viewer fulfilling their curiosity. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously the most important step is to get that first click. So you need some type of clickbait. But in order to keep that passive viewership, you need to keep those clicks coming. And sometimes abusing clickbait may not be the way to do it. An example of doing it wrong are channels that show things like fake news or misinformation, further hurting any future credibility they have with each upload. You can even see how some of these channels are affected by it, slowly losing their relevance, which is ultimately less clicks. But clickbait isn't necessarily negative. In fact, it's what grows these viral videos in the first place. One pro you'll see if clickbait is used effectively is that YouTube will give that video more impressions, which is basically how many times your video is shown on somebody's feed. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of other factors that may contribute to a high amount of impressions, such as content similarity and YouTube simply recommending your video in the first place. Now, even with a high amount of impressions, this does not guarantee your video views, and that's because impressions come with an impression click-through rate, which is the percent of people who click the video after seeing it appear. And that's where we get into some of the main cons that come with using clickbait, which I explained earlier. So how and why are these content creators using clickbait? Well, the harsh truth is, if you, a creator, wants to succeed in this space, your job is to get as much interaction as you can with your content. And getting the viewer a bit curious about what's behind that thumbnail is probably one of the best ways you can do it. In fact, with how much competition is in this space, it's probably one of the only ways you can do it. That's it for this video. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe, and yeah, peace.